Coverage you can count on. This is WAAY 31 News at 6.
We are learning more about breaking news out of Jackson County now at 6. The sheriff's office confirms a body was found in a bag off County Road 67. Sheriff Rocky Harnan says the bag was pulled out of the water near the Marshall County line. The coroner is expected to arrive at South Saudi Creek boat ramp soon. In just a few minutes, we'll check in with WAAY 31's Matt Paskowitz, who just arrived at that scene. Thanks for joining us for WAAY 31 News at 6. I'm Dan Schaefer.
And I'm Nicole Williams. It is starting to heat up again across North Alabama. Chief Meteorologist Taylor Canoe's doing this now. Taylor, you say it's going to get even hotter this weekend.
Yep, and even hotter after that as we head into next week. So we are not done with the summer heat just yet, that is for sure. Saturday's forecast not looking too different from what we experienced today. A little bit on the warm side, but nothing out of the ordinary for mid to late August. We'll start off very comfortable, but warm up quickly to the mid-80s by lunchtime and should be in store for a warm, sunny afternoon on Saturday with highs near 90. When you factor in the humidity, it's not going to be all that bad on Saturday, but it will start to feel more muggy on Sunday. High temperatures on Sunday afternoon will be in the low to mid 90s. The humidity on the rise will make it feel like close to 100 on Sunday afternoon. So that's when you're really going to start to notice that heat rise is on Sunday, and the warming trend is very much going to continue as we head into next week. Every single day next week is forecast to be at least in the mid 90s. There's some perspective for you. No rain to cool us down either. The dry stretch likely to continue most of next week. I'll show you which days are forecast to be hottest and when we could see the heat index climb as high as 110. Coming up here in a couple minutes.
All right, thanks, Taylor. Week 1 of testimony concluded in a disturbing child abuse case in Lauderdale County.
23-year-old Yarrick Pride is charged in the beating death of her ex-boyfriend's 3-year-old child, Caden Gardner. She faces life in prison if convicted.
Yesterday in court, the father of little Caden Gardner testified against Pride. Blake Townsend will spend the rest of his life behind bars for his role in the crime.
WAAY 31's Maddie McCaffrey was in the courtroom today and has more.
In court today, prosecutors brought one of the investigators of the case to the stand. Jurors were shown a long video of the third time Pride was interrogated by police. It was a heated exchange between them, and at one point they called her a terrible liar. On the video, investigators told Pride that the coroner discovered all kinds of marks and bruises on Caden Warner and that the child was punched so hard near his liver and slowly died. Pride kept telling police that she never laid her hands on the child and that she was not present during the deadly beating. She claimed that she did not know anything about his death, and investigators told her that her cell phone records and the autopsy report prove otherwise. Thursday in court, the father of baby Caden, Blake Townsend, testified against Pride. In his testimony, he told his version of the story and said he watched Pride beat his child with the belt. Testimony in this case will continue Monday morning at the Lauderdale County Courthouse. If convicted, Pride faces life behind bars. Reporting in Lauderdale County, Maddie McCaffrey, WAAY 31 News.
New information on the wildfire that devastated Maui. The death toll was at 111, but is expected to climb as more search and recovery teams work their way through fire-ravaged neighborhoods. As the agonizing field work of finding victims continues, there's been a ripple in the ranks of the island's emergency management officials. Laura Aguirre has the latest.
Do you regret not sounding the sirens?
I do not. So even if we sounded the siren, it would not have saved those people on the mountainside.
Herman Andaya is now Maui's former emergency management administrator. He resigned Thursday, citing his health. One day after he doubled down on reasons why warning sirens weren't used during the deadly wildfires.
It's an outdoor siren, so a lot of people who are indoors, air conditioning on, whatever the case may be, they're not going to hear the siren.
The unactivated sirens will be a focus of an upcoming investigation. Hawaii's Attorney General says she'll bring in a private third-party disaster response organization to fully assess what happened. The grim task of looking for fire victims rolls on, with authorities confirming that children are among the remains found so far. On the day the fires broke out, several Maui schools were closed for high winds and power outages, meaning many children were home alone.
A lot of kids who were there, but their parents weren't there, who were at work. And there was no warning, no nothing. It's heartbreaking.
This was early night.
Jess Menina lost her home and business in the fires and is among many who are unhappy with the government's response.
I think there's a huge lack of communication. The people have rallied together far more than any government has so far.
We should stop at nothing to uncover every bit of truth and hold those accountable.
I'm Laura Aguirre for WAAY 31 News.
The population in our area has spiked over the past decade. Now there's a need to expand infrastructure, which means you might have to pay a higher bill.
Huntsville Utilities is proposing a rate increase in your water bill. WAAY 31's Dave Brazelton joins us live with more on that. Babe?
Dan and Nikhil, it boils down to meeting the cost of expanding the infrastructure of one of the country's largest and fastest growing cities. According to the utility, there has not been an increase since 2016, which they say has given us some of the lowest water rates in the region.
It's a response to the cost of doing business. There's some inflationary factors, and our capital costs have spiked tremendously and in a rather short period of time. We've seen this rate increase coming for a few years. We've been talking with council about it since the beginning of the year, and so now we've put a proposal together, and it will be on next Thursday night's council agenda.
And WAAY 31 will be at next Thursday's City Council meeting as the proposed rate hike is presented. And of course, we'll bring you the results of that on air and online at WAAYTV.com. Reporting from Huntsville Utilities, Dave Brazelton, WAAY 31 News.
Thanks, Dave. Crews are working to clean up after a train jumped the tracks in DeKalb County. New drone footage from DeKalb County Emergency Management shows that southbound train and several of its front cars off the tracks. It happened around 9:30 this morning. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the public is asked to avoid the area. The cause of that derailment is currently under investigation.
New at 6, the U.S. Army Materiel Command hosted an appointment ceremony right here at Redstone Arsenal. Richard Martin was promoted into the Senior Executive Service just a few hours ago. It's an appointed position in the U.S. Civil Service that's equivalent to a general officer in the armed forces. Martin joins the ranks of senior Redstone leadership and will be responsible for directing the Army's supply chains.
Well, one of the biggest events in the Shoals starts up within the hour. The annual Watermelon Festival started over 40 years ago and is now attracting over 30,000 people for its two-day event. It's a completely free event that spans a 6-block area in downtown Russellville, complete with a huge stage, food vendors, and of course, plenty of watermelon.
While the Watermelon Festival is happening later this hour, Decatur's Third Friday is happening right now. It's another festival full of family fun, this time with more security to keep you safe. Planners canceled last month's Third Friday due to security concerns and the lack of officers. Now it's back in full swing. The event lasts until 8:30, so there's plenty of time to have some fun.
Coming up, a federal judge is denying Donald Trump's latest request to delay a defamation trial with writer E. Jean Carroll when the judge says the trial will begin.
And Hurricane Hillary is expected to hit Southern California as tropical storms, while hundreds of wildfires in Canada continue to burn.
All is quiet here in North Alabama this evening, but we are going to crank the thermometer up in a big way, especially next week. A look at our forecast highs in the 10-day forecast coming up next.
Coverage you can count on. This is WAAY 31 News at 6 with Dan Schaefer, Nikhil Williams, Chief Meteorologist Taylor Knust, and sports with Nolan Knight.
We're learning more about a body found in a bag in Jackson County.
The Sheriff's Office confirms it was located in the water off Lake Gunnersville there near County Road 67. WAAY 31's Matt Paskowitz is live at the scene now. He just arrived. Matt, what can you tell us so far?
Hey, Dan and Cal, details are limited right now. Actually, you can see behind me, scene's just clearing up. We just had a bunch of officers and an ambulance leave the scene. At the moment, what we're being told by the Jackson County Sheriff's Office is that they discovered apparently sometime this afternoon a body inside of a bag. We don't know all the details associated with that at the moment, but like you mentioned in the toss to me, Lake Gunnersville is right behind me. We're just off the boat ramp along South Saudi Creek, the South Saudi Creek boat ramp. But at the moment, we did see an ambulance here. We did see multiple law enforcement vehicles from the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Now, this is actually kind of an interesting note. We're very close to the border between Marshall and Jackson County. We're assuming it's just past that bridge over the water. That's where we're at right now, though. But as I just said, scene's cleared the past few minutes or so. We're still working to learn what exactly went down here. It's still very fresh. We're going to continue to work to try to figure out who this person is, what happened, and we're going to continue to cover that on air and online at our website, WAAYTV.com. Reporting live in Jackson County, I'm Matt Paskowitz, WAAY 31 News.
Thanks, Matt. New at 6, a federal judge is denying former President Donald Trump's latest request to delay a defamation trial with writer E. Jean Carroll. Carroll sued Trump for defamation in 2019 after he denied her allegations that he raped her and also claimed that Carroll wasn't his type and suggested she made up the rape claim to sell books. The former president has asked a judge to delay the case while his legal team appeals an earlier ruling. The judge noted that this was Trump's 4th attempt to delay the trial. She set that trial date for January. In a separate civil case earlier this year, a jury found that Trump sexually abused Carroll and defamed her. She was awarded $5 million in that suit. Hurricane Hillary is taking aim at Mexico before expecting to hit Southern California as a tropical storm.
It comes as extreme weather also affects residents in Canada. Thousands have evacuated, with hundreds of wildfires continuing to burn. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
For the first time ever, a tropical storm watch issued for California as Hurricane Hillary churns off the Mexican coast and heads north.
Right now, it's a hurricane, although it's projected to, when it hits us, to be a tropical storm.
People bracing for heavy rain, flash flooding, gusty winds, and possibly even tornadoes.
Southern California has seen tropical storms and their impacts from them, but the last time a tropical storm made this kind of track over Southern California was back in 1997.
The storm will likely make landfall in Mexico on Sunday and weaken as it approaches the U.S. border. Places like Los Angeles, San Diego, and Las Vegas expected to be hit hard. And rare to historic flooding is possible for the deserts.
We could see a year's worth of rain in places like Palm Springs or Las Vegas and some of those mountain areas in just a couple of days.
Meanwhile, further north in Canada, thousands of people evacuated from their homes with multiple wildfires burning across the country. Fire crews and water bombers trying to save the city of Yellowknife, the capital city of Canada's Northwest Territories. A massive wildfire forcing an evacuation order for the entire population, about 20,000 people.
It's just black and it's smoldering, right? So there's, it's just smoke kind of coming up out of the ground.
Some waiting in long lines for emergency flights, others driving hundreds of miles to safety.
Canada is currently in its worst fire season on record, and there are no signs of it easing up. Right now, there are more than 1,000 active fires burning across the country. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Now, WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Taylor Knust with 31 Triple Doppler.
We mentioned Hillary a moment ago. It is currently tracking to the north, and it's weakened just a little bit.
Yeah, it's down to 130 miles per hour.
Still strong.
Very strong, yes. Yeah, Category 4, but it is going to weaken quite rapidly as it approaches California. It's just an unusual track that doesn't happen very often. It's very rare for California to be affected by tropical systems in general, largely because the water on the Pacific is so cool, especially around the western U.S. coast. But here's how it looks right now. Strong Category 4 storm Hurricane Hillary Missouri, 130 mile per hour peak sustained winds, gusts up to 160. So still very, very strong, and it's going to track toward the Baja Peninsula here over the weekend and then heads into Southern California on Sunday evening into Sunday night. Again, as a tropical storm, very, very rare, and the heavy rain likely to be the main threat with that particular storm. Meanwhile, in the Gulf, we are continuing to see a chance for development early next week. This is likely not going to be an impact for us locally in Alabama, but if you had plans to head toward the Texas coast, for example, or the Louisiana coast, you may be affected by this developing system. This is largely going to stay out toward the Gulf, so if you're heading to the Alabama coast or the Florida Gulf Coast, you're likely going to be in okay shape. Just some gusty winds possible Sunday night into Monday. The farther west we go, the more impacts we'll see with potentially some heavy rain heading toward the Texas coast around next Tuesday. All dry here in North Alabama. It's going to stay that way overnight tonight as well. Fairly comfortable evening ahead at 83 degrees right now in Athens, 86 in Coleman, and 85 in Fort Payne. Another cooler than average night coming our way with low to mid 60s for your forecast lows. 60 in Fayetteville, 61 in Fort Payne, down to 64 tonight in Huntsville. Heading into Saturday, it's going to be a quick warm up, so that fall feel is not going to stick around too much longer. Mid to upper 80s in your forecast tomorrow afternoon, and highs will be near 90 for areas like Huntsville, Decatur, and Muscle Shoals. On Sunday, it gets even hotter with highs in the low to mid 90s. We are anticipating a mainly clear sky this weekend. Some of that Canadian wildfire smoke may pass overhead late Saturday into early Sunday, so those of you with respiratory issues may want to limit your outdoor activities, especially strenuous activities throughout the weekend. Most of us are not going to notice it though. Heading into next week, here we go. Here comes the big heat. Highs in the mid to upper 90s, 97 on Wednesday and Thursday. You factor in the rising humidity. Heat index values between 105 and 110 are in the forecast each of these days. It is going to be toasty all week long. Arguably our hottest stretch of weather for a long period of time is coming our way next week, and we have issued 31 alert days for Wednesday and Thursday in particular next week. Those are the days right now that appear to be most likely for the heat index to climb to 110. And there is not going to be any rain or any storms anywhere close to us that will help us cool off either. So this is unfortunately going to be a prolonged heat wave for us across North Alabama that could continue into next weekend. Highs again in the mid to upper 90s throughout that entire stretch. We may not see 80s return until the following week. It's going to be dry and hot. Close to the month of August, that is for sure. And a far cry from what we saw to start the month.
Yeah.
A whole lot of rain.
What a switch, yeah.
Just like that.
All right, thanks, Taylor.
Max?
You guys may have had a little bit of a wild summer, but I promise you it's not as wild as Nolan Shaw-Newell's. We'll tell you why next in sports.
Now, WAAY 31 Sports with Max Cohan.
The final football-free Friday of the year is upon us. We are officially just 1 week away from the first Friday night under the lights. This week, teams around the state are hitting the field for jamborees, getting their first taste of the action. And tonight, 31 teams in 31 days continues with a squad that was on the field last night, the Westminster Christian Wildcats.
31 teams in 31 days.
The Westminster Christian Wildcats are ready to run wild. Fresh off their first trip to the playoffs since 2019, WCA is ready to make another march to November.
You know, we want to win every game we can, right? We're not settling up for, just region or something, but one of the main things that we want to do as well is build better men.
Heading into year 8, Wildcats head coach Louis LeBlanc says, cliche as it may be, the team's focus is being better today than they were yesterday.
So we try to live by that. We don't ever really talk about region championships, state championships. We just talk about what are we doing right now? Did we give everything we had today?
For this squad, there is one mission and one mindset: win the moment. Something that means just a little bit more senior year.
I'm thinking to myself, this is the last time I get to do it with a Wildcat on the side of my helmet. So I think for me, that's the most important thing.
And after falling in the first round of the playoffs last year, the team is hungry and feels like they have the potential to do something special.
I think for any team or any player, it should definitely leave a bad taste in your mouth if the last game that you play at the end of the year is a loss, And, that definitely is. I feel like we've had, we've been fired up every single year because, we obviously don't want to end with a loss. We don't want to.
And when you have a guy like Brandon Mush under center, a dual-threat star whose name is all over the record books, it's hard not to feel confident about the team you're putting on the field.
At the beginning of his career, I kind of waited for him to get cocky or to get full of himself, and he never did. And what I came to find out that it was really a genuine thing with him. He does care about his teammates. He does care about the team. Winning is important to him more so than stats. And so that's just been, just makes it even a bigger joy to be a part of that, and see what he does.
The Wildcats kick things off against Lee on August 25th.
And be sure to join us tomorrow at 6 as we head out to Town Creek for our look at the Hatton Hornets. Over on the links, Nick Dunlap's scorching hot summer is rolling on. The Huntsville native birdied the 19th hole to advance to the semifinals at the U.S. Amateur Championship today. With his win over Jackson Koivan, Dunlap becomes just the 6th Crimson Tide golfer to reach the semifinals at the U.S. Amateur and the first to do so since Justin Thomas back in 2012. Of course, we'll keep you up to date on Dunlap's semifinal match tomorrow. And over in Madison, the Trash Pandas were just getting used to having hitting machine Nolan Shonowell around when the Angels called him up earlier today. Just 40 days after he was drafted, LA called up the 21-year-old who was batting .339 with 1 home run and 12 runs batted in 16 games with Rocket City. When Shonowell makes his debut tonight, he'll be the first position player to do so the same season he was drafted, since Connor Gillespie did so with the Giants back in 2008. So 40 days to the majors. I couldn't even get abs in 40 days. He's batting first and playing first tonight. Pretty impressive.
That? Yeah, it is impressive.
Final check on the weather.
Yeah, it's a quick rise, just like our temperatures are going to be on the rise here a lot over the next several days. Up to the 90s we go tomorrow and on Sunday, mid to upper 90s in the forecast virtually all of next week. Hottest of the bunch look to be next Wednesday and Thursday, where we have 31 alert days in effect for the area.
WAAY 31 gives you 24/7 coverage you can count on, local news, breaking news, and severe weather.
Watch WAAY 31 on all of our streaming platforms and download the only weather app with 3 live Doppler radars. We'll be back here at 10.